What if I told you that the most powerful person in any room is the one who seems unshaken by chaos? The person who acts as if nothing can disturb their peace holds a weapon far greater than anger, fear, or stress. That weapon is control over self. Today, I will teach you the art of acting as if nothing bothers you, no matter what storms life throws your way. You see, life doesn't break you because of what happens to you. It breaks you because of how you talk to yourself about what happens to you. Every second of every day, there is a voice inside your head narrating your experience. That voice either empowers you or imprisons you, and most people, without even realizing it, are chained by their own inner dialogue. When you wake up in the morning, what's the first conversation you have? Not with your spouse, not with your friends, not with the world, but with yourself. For most, that conversation is filled with doubt, fear, and hesitation. I can't handle this. I'm tired. I'm stressed. I'm not good enough. And the tragedy is that we begin to believe that voice as if it were absolute truth. But let me tell you something that most people never discover. That voice can be rewritten. That voice can be trained. And until you train it, the world will train it for you. Now, why is this so important when we talk about acting as if nothing bothers you? Because the illusion of composure begins inside, not outside. You cannot project strength to the world if your inner voice is screaming weakness. You cannot look unshaken if your own thoughts are trembling like leaves in the wind. That is why the first battle is always fought in the mind, and that battle is between who you are and who you tell yourself you are. Every reaction you give to the outside world, anger, fear, anxiety, starts as a seed of thought. That seed grows into an emotion, and that emotion spills into an action. And if you don't take control of the seed, the tree it grows will destroy your peace. So when someone insults you, when life challenges you, when uncertainty shakes your foundation, what really hurts you is not the insult, not the challenge, not the uncertainty. What hurts you is the story you tell yourself about it. They disrespected me. This is unfair. I can't handle this. That story multiplies the pain tenfold. And yet, you can write a different story. I am calm. I am above this. I will not allow this moment to define me. You can't always control the stimulus, but you can always control the story. Here's the truth: most people run from. The outside world is not your enemy. Your real enemy is the voice that tells you that you're powerless. The voice that says, you can't handle this. And as long as you obey that voice, you will always be disturbed, always be shaken, always be controlled by circumstances. But the moment you decide to take command of that voice, something extraordinary happens. You become untouchable, not because problems disappear, because they lose their power over you. Think about this. The person who remains calm in chaos is not calm because there is no chaos. They are calm because they have mastered the conversation within. They have trained that voice to say, this is temporary. This does not define me. I remain in control. And when that becomes your dominant thought, your entire emotional system follows. The body obeys the mind. The heartbeat slows, the muscles relax. Expression on your face becomes neutral. And the world looks at you and says, nothing seems to bother them. But that's not magic, it's mastery. So how do you begin? Start by listening. Listen to what you say to yourself when life tests you. Catch the negative language. Catch the panic. Catch the words that diminish your power. Because those words are the architects of your reality. Replace them with language of strength. When the mind says, I can't handle this, you say, I am bigger than this moment. When the mind says, this is unfair, say, this is shaping me. When the mind says, why me? You answer, because I am built for this. That shift in language will create a shift in feeling, and that shift in feeling will create a shift in action. You have to understand, your inner dialogue is not some harmless chatter. It is the blueprint of your life. It is either building a fortress of resilience or digging a grave of weakness. Every calm response, every unshaken look, every moment you act as if nothing bothers you begins with the silent rehearsal in your mind. The world sees the performance, but the script is written in your thoughts. And the greatest performers are those who rewrite that script until it serves them, not sabotages them. So the next time you face something that threatens your peace, don't start with the outside. Don't rush to change the circumstance, the people, or the problem. Start with the voice, because the voice inside you is either your prison or your passport. And if you truly want to act as if nothing bothers you, you must first believe it. And belief is nothing more than the repetition of the right words, spoken to yourself, until they become louder than the noise around you. Control the voice, and you control the world. That's where true strength begins. Have you ever noticed how quickly people surrender their power? One word, one gesture, one moment of provocation, and they explode. They slam doors, raise their voice, say things they regret, and later justify it by saying, "I couldn't help it. I just reacted." But that statement alone reveals the truth. They weren't in control. They were controlled. Reaction is the language of weakness. It is the evidence that something outside of you owns your inner world. The person who reacts is the person who has handed over their authority to circumstances. They live like a puppet, pulled by the strings of other people's words and actions. And the sad reality is most people never even question it. They go through life on autopilot, reacting to every situation as if they had no choice. But you do have a choice. You always have a choice. And that choice is the pause. The pause is where freedom lies. The pause is where power hides between stimulus and response. There is a tiny gap, a space so small that most never notice it. But in that space, everything changes. That gap is where you decide who you are going to be in this moment. Will you be a victim of impulse, or will you be a master of self? Most people confuse speed with strength. They think firing back a response instantly makes them sharp or powerful. It doesn't. It makes them predictable. And predictable people are easy to control. You insult them, they erupt. You ignore them, they soak. You praise them, they beam. Every emotion on display like an open book. But the one who pauses, the one who waits, who breathes, who allows silence to settle, that person is unreadable, unshaken, untouchable. Let me tell you something about silence. It's not weakness. It's strategy. The pause allows you to disengage from the storm inside you. It interrupts the chain reaction between thought and action. When you pause, you create distance between the trigger and your decision. And in that distance, reason walks in, logic walks in, wisdom walks in. You become deliberate instead of impulsive. And deliberate people are powerful people. Think about the greatest leaders, the most influential minds. They never rush into reaction. They calculate, they observe, they process. That doesn't mean they lack emotion. It means they refuse to be slaves to emotion. They understand that feelings are temporary, but actions are permanent. You can't take back a word once it's spoken. You can't undo a decision once it's made. And when you act out of impulse, you are gambling with your reputation, your relationships, your future. The pause is also a signal to the world. When you refuse to react, when you maintain composure in the face of provocation, you are sending a message. I am not yours to control. The moment you react, you give the other person exactly what they wanted, your attention, your energy, your peace. And once they know they can push your buttons, they will keep pressing them. But when you pause, when you smile instead of snapping, when you walk away instead of lashing out, you take away their power. You become the one in control. Now, let me make this practical. The next time someone offends you, don't answer right away. Don't justify yourself. Don't defend your pride. Just breathe. Inhale slowly, count to 3, and remind yourself, this is my choice. This moment does not own me. And if you must speak, speak from calm, not chaos. The difference between a word spoken in anger and a word spoken in composure can determine the quality of your entire life. And here's the deeper truth. The pause is not just for conflict with others. It's for conflict within yourself. When fear rises, pause. When doubt whispers, pause. When anxiety tightens its grip, pause. That space gives you clarity. That space reminds you that you are not your emotions. You are the one observing them. And the observer always has control. You see, reacting is easy. A child reacts, animal, but to respond, to hold yourself back in a world that provokes you every second, that is mastery. That is power. And it's a rare power, because most people will never practice it. They will keep snapping, shouting, regretting. But not you. Because today, you understand that every pause you take is an investment in your strength, in your dignity, in your destiny. So the next time life pushes you, when someone tries to pull you into their chaos, ask yourself this: do I want to give them control, or do I want to keep my power? Because the one who keeps their power wins. Not the argument, not the fight, but something much greater themselves. People read you before they hear you. Before a single word escapes your lips, your face speaks volumes. And for most people, their face is an open book, one that anyone can flip through and read at will. Anger shows instantly, disappointment leaks through, anxiety paints itself across the forehead like a billboard. And with every emotion displayed so clearly, what happens? You become predictable. You become easy to manipulate, because when people can read you, they can control you. Now, think about the most composed individuals you've ever encountered. They walk into a room and you can't tell what they're thinking. Are they angry? Are they thrilled? Are they concerned? You don't know. And that uncertainty gives them an undeniable edge. They hold the power because they hold the mystery. People respect what they cannot fully understand, and that is why your ability to keep your emotions off your face is not just a habit, it's a strategy. We live in an age of oversharing, not just online but in our expressions. Most people don't just feel emotions, they broadcast them. They want everyone to know when they're offended, hurt, or frustrated. But here's the truth. Life will constantly hand you moments that could break your composure. People will test you. Circumstances will corner you. And if every challenge paints itself across your face, the world will know exactly where your weaknesses live. Never forget this: the easiest way for someone to control you is to read you. Your face is a mirror to your state of mind, and the more transparent that mirror, the more vulnerable you are. That's why the strongest people have mastered a different art, the art of neutrality. It's not that they don't feel. It's not that they don't experience the storm. They do. They just don't let the storm show on the surface. While waves crash inside, the surface of the water remains calm, still unshaken. That is what you must aim for. Because the moment people see you lose control, the moment they see you flinch, they know where to strike. So how do you achieve this? It begins with awareness. Notice what happens when you feel triggered. The tightening of the jaw, the narrowing of the eyes, the raised brow. These micro-expressions leak your truth in milliseconds, and the more unconscious you are of them, the more you expose yourself. But once you become aware, you can intervene. You can teach your face to hold stillness even when your heart races. You can teach your eyes to remain calm even when your mind spins. This is not suppression, it is mastery. It is the ability to choose how much access the world gets to your inner world. And let's be honest, control is influence. When you remain unrateable, people lean in. They wonder. They speculate. That curiosity gives you leverage, because mystery is power. If you've ever watched a great negotiator, you'll notice this. They reveal nothing. You can't tell if they're thrilled by the offer or insulted by it. Their expression is a blank canvas. And because of that, they dictate the pace, the tone, and the outcome. Meanwhile, the one who reacts, the one who smiles too quickly or frowns too soon, loses ground before the game even begins. This doesn't mean you live without emotion. It means you govern emotion. There's a profound difference. You don't deny the feeling. You simply decide what the world gets to see. That is strength. Quiet, invisible strength that speaks louder than words ever could. Because the truth is, most battles in life are psychological, and in a psychological battle, the one who reveals less wins more. Let me give you an image. Imagine a grand chessboard. Every piece you reveal too early, every move you telegraph, gives your opponent information. And information is power. Life works the same way. If your face reveals frustration, someone will use that against you. If your face reveals eagerness, someone will exploit that too. But if your expression stays calm, if your demeanor stays measured, then you force the world to play in uncertainty. And uncertainty favors the one who can endure it. This level of composure is not built in a day. It requires practice. Start with small situations. When you hear news that normally excites or upsets you, hold your face neutral for a few seconds before reacting. When someone challenges you, resist the instinct to show irritation. Instead, breathe and let your expression stay still. Over time, this becomes second nature, and when it does, something remarkable happens. You become untouchable, not because life stops throwing challenges your way, but because no one knows where to hit. Your strength becomes invisible yet undeniable. And here's the deeper beauty of this practice. When you train your face to tell no secrets, you're not just fooling others, you're training yourself. You're teaching your mind to calm down by calming the body. The act of holding composure on your face sends a message to your brain: we are safe. We are in control. And that message reduces the chaos within. It turns the storm into still water. So you're not pretending, you're reinforcing mastery from the outside in. Never underestimate this skill. The greatest leaders, the most influential minds, the most commanding figures in history, none of them wore their emotions like a badge. They guarded their expressions because they understood this truth: vulnerability is not in feeling, it is in displaying. Keep the display under your command, and you keep your world under your command. So remember this: when the world watches, give them nothing but calm. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them write their own stories about what you're thinking while you stay firmly in control of the real one. The greatest battles in life are rarely fought with others. They are fought within yourself, between what you feel and what you choose to do about it. Every time life provokes you, two forces rise inside you: emotion and reason. And in that moment, the question is simple: who will lead? Will you allow the raw surge of feeling to dictate your next move, or will you pause, think, and act with intention? That choice, more than any circumstance, defines the quality of your life. Here is the truth most people never learn: emotion is not the enemy. Emotion is energy. It is raw, unfiltered fuel. Anger, fear, excitement, even joy, they are signals, not commands. But most people misinterpret those signals as orders to obey. They feel anger and assume they must lash out. They feel fear and assume they must retreat. They feel desire and assume they must act immediately. And then they wonder why life feels like a series of regrets. It's because they confuse feeling with instruction. When you act on every emotion, you live like a leaf in the wind, tossed around by every breeze of impulse. One moment you're high on joy, the next you're crushed by disappointment, and every decision reflects that volatility. But strength, real strength, emerges when you create a gap between feeling and doing. When you say, "I feel this, but I will not let this dictate what I do," that gap is where character is forged. That gap is where wisdom lives. Think about it. Anger itself is not destructive. Acting out of anger is. Fear itself will not ruin you. Acting out of fear will. The emotion is never the problem. The action that follows without thought, that's where the damage is done. And yet, most people never develop this skill. They live enslaved by their emotional state. And the worst part, they believe that reacting instantly is authentic. They think blurting out the first thing that comes to mind or following the first impulse is being real. But understand this: authenticity without mastery is chaos. Just because something feels true in the moment doesn't mean it deserves to become reality. Now, let me be clear. I am not telling you to kill your emotions. I am telling you to lead them. Leadership begins inside. The person who cannot lead their own emotions cannot lead their own life. So how do you lead them? By creating space. By stepping back, observing, and asking, if I act on this feeling now, where will it take me? Will this serve me in an hour? Tomorrow? 10 years from now? If the answer is no, then you know what to do. Nothing. Delay the impulse. Because time is the filter that separates wisdom from foolishness. And here's something profound: every time you resist the pull of immediate emotion, you strengthen the muscle of self-control. It's like lifting weights. Painful at first, but every rep makes you stronger. And the stronger you become, the freer you are. Because make no mistake, the person who acts on impulse is not free. They are a prisoner of their own chemistry. Their anger owns them. Their cravings own them. Their fears own them. But the one who governs that inner storm walks through life untouchable. They feel everything, yet they are ruled by nothing. This level of composure does not make you cold. It makes you powerful. Because when you separate emotion from action, you don't lose feeling. You gain clarity. You see the bigger picture. You recognize that one word spoken in anger can destroy years of trust. One decision made in fear can close doors that were meant for you. One action taken out of pride can burn bridges you will need later. And when you understand that, you stop worshiping the moment. You start playing the long game. Let me give you an image. Imagine a warrior standing on the battlefield. The enemy provokes him, shouts insults, tries to lure him into a reckless charge. His blood boils. His hands tighten around his weapon. Every nerve screams, attack. But he doesn't move. He doesn't let the enemy dictate the timing of his strike. Because he knows something deeper: the first blow thrown in anger is usually the last mistake made before defeat. That warrior waits. He breathes. He studies. And when he moves with precision, not passion. That is the art of separating emotion from action. That is the art of winning. Now bring that image into your life. Every day, something tries to pull you into battle: an insult, a disappointment, a temptation. And every day you have a choice: charge blindly with your feelings, or stand still with your power. The world belongs to the second type, the ones who can feel deeply yet act deliberately. Because those who can delay reaction until wisdom joins the conversation will always outlast those who act on impulse. So, the next time your emotions roar, pause and remind yourself, I am not what I feel, I am what I choose to do. And when you start living by that truth, nothing, no insult, no setback, no temptation will control you again. One of the most exhausting battles you will ever fight is the battle against reality. And it's a battle you cannot win. Every single day, life throws at you 100 things you cannot control: the weather, the traffic, the opinions of others, the timing of opportunities, the mistakes of people around you. And yet, most people spend their entire lives consumed with these very things, angry at what they cannot change, worried about what they cannot predict, chasing after what they cannot guarantee. This is why they are tired, bitter, and broken, because they waste their strength where it has no power. If you want to act as if nothing bothers you, you must learn this simple truth. Peace begins the moment you stop trying to control the uncontrollable. That is not weakness, that is wisdom. Because the person who insists on controlling everything will always live in tension. And tension is nothing but the friction between what you want and what reality gives you. The greater that gap, the greater your suffering. But when you shrink that gap, when you align yourself with what is within your reach and release what is not, you free yourself from that constant pull of frustration. Now, does this mean you give up? No. It means you become strategic. It means you stop pouring your energy into walls and start pouring it into doors. You stop obsessing over what you can't fix and start mastering what you can. There is an ancient truth that says you cannot direct the wind, but you can adjust the sails. That is not just poetry, that is power. Because the wind will never obey you, but your sails will. And those sails are your thoughts, your habits, your responses. They are yours to command. The rest, the storms, the tides, the currents, they belong to the universe, and the universe does not bend to your will. Here's the problem: people confuse influence with control. They believe that if they just worry enough, fight enough, or complain enough, the situation will change. It doesn't. Worry does not move mountains. It only buries you under them. Complaints don't bend reality, they only break your spirit. And so the world is full of people exhausted by battles they were never meant to fight. They try to control the past, which is gone. They try to control the future, which hasn't arrived. And in the process, they lose the only thing they ever truly had: this moment, right now. You see, there are only two circles in life: the circle of control and the circle of concern. Most people live in the second one, obsessing over everything that concerns them: what others think, what others say, what the market does, what fate brings. But the masters, the ones who appear unbothered, live in the first circle. They focus on what they can control: their choices, their words, their reactions, their preparation, their attitude. And because they focus there, they grow there. While everyone else spends energy on illusions, they invest energy in reality, and reality always rewards those who work within it. Ask yourself this: how many hours, how many days have you lost worrying about something you had zero power to change? And what did that worry give you? Nothing but stress, nothing but fear. Meanwhile, the things you could control, the things within your reach, were left undone. You see the paradox. You were so busy trying to move the mountains that you forgot to take the steps that were already in front of you. And then you wonder why peace feels so far away. So here's what you do every time you face a challenge, every time anxiety grips you. Ask this one question: is this within my control? If the answer is yes, then act. Take the step, do the work, move with all the force you can muster. But if the answer is no, release it. Not tomorrow, not later. Now, because holding on to what you cannot control is like gripping a burning coal. It only burns you, never the fire. Let it go, and you free your hands to build something better. And here's something remarkable: the moment you stop trying to control everything, you gain more control over yourself. Your mind clears, your energy returns, your confidence grows, because you finally stop fighting battles that were never yours to fight. And that calmness, that focus, that sense of certainty, that's what makes you appear unbothered. People look at you and wonder, why aren't they stressed? Why aren't they angry? And the answer is simple: because you learned the truth that most people will never accept. You don't need control over everything to live powerfully. You only need control over yourself. Let the world spin. Let the storms rage. Let people do what people do. That is not your battlefield. Your battlefield is your response, your preparation, your growth. That's where your strength lies. And once you understand that, nothing, not chaos, not criticism, not circumstances, can shake you again. If you truly want to act as if nothing bothers you, it's not enough to master your thoughts, control your reactions, or keep a calm face. Those things matter, but there is something deeper, a foundation without which all these strategies collapse. That foundation is confidence, and not the shallow kind of confidence that depends on applause or approval. I'm talking about the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing who you are and refusing to let the chaos of the world define you. Composure is not just an act, it is an expression of inner certainty. When you see someone calm under pressure, what you're really seeing is a person who trusts themselves. They trust their ability to handle the situation. They trust their ability to adapt, to learn, to endure. They are not unbothered because the storm is small. They are unbothered because they believe in the size of their own strength. And that belief changes everything. Most people live on the opposite end. They look strong on the surface, but underneath is a fragile self that trembles at the smallest wave. Why? Because their confidence depends on conditions, on circumstances, on approval, on control. When things go their way, they feel secure. When people like them, they feel important. But when the winds shift, when criticism comes, when uncertainty knocks, they collapse. That's not confidence. That's dependency dressed up as strength. True confidence is independent of conditions. It does not wait for the world to behave before it feels safe. It does not beg for validation before it feels worthy. It is built internally, brick by brick, through self-respect and self-discipline. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you lay a brick. Every time you control your impulses instead of letting them control you, you lay a brick. Every time you face fear instead of running, you lay a brick. And eventually, you build a fortress so strong that when the storm comes, and it will, you don't have to act calm. You are calm. Now, let's connect this to the idea of appearing unbothered. People think composure is about pretending, about putting on a mask of calm when inside you're breaking. That might work for a moment, but it's fragile. Sooner or later, the cracks show, the mask slips, because you can't fake strength forever. The only way to sustain it is to make it real, and that reality comes from preparation, from competence, from confidence. Think about it. When does fear grip you the most? When you feel unprepared. When you doubt your ability to handle what's ahead. That's when the mind races, the heart pounds, the panic shows on your face. But when you know you're ready, when you've done the work, when you trust your skill and your character, calm becomes natural. You don't have to act as if nothing bothers you, because nothing truly does. Not because the world stopped being difficult, but because you stopped being dependent on the world's behavior for your peace. This is why composure is magnetic. People are drawn to the calm in a storm. They trust it. They follow it. Because in a world where most people are ruled by anxiety, the one who exudes certainty becomes a beacon. And here's the secret. You don't need to be the loudest. You don't need to prove anything. In fact, the loudest person in the room is often the weakest. True confidence whispers. It doesn't need noise because its strength speaks silently through its presence. So how do you build this? Start small. Do what you said you would do. Stop negotiating with yourself when it comes to discipline. Show up when you said you would show up. Keep the promises nobody else knows about. Because confidence isn't built in the spotlight, it's built in silence. And once you build it, once you know yourself as someone who follows through, who adapts, who doesn't quit, then you will carry a stillness that no storm can steal. You won't have to chase control, you'll be control. And let me tell you something powerful. Confidence is contagious. When you stand firm, others find strength in your composure. They trust your leadership, your judgment, your presence. Not because you're perfect, but because you are unshaken when the ground moves. That's influence, that's authority. And it's born not from arrogance, but from mastery over self. Never forget this. The calmest person in the room is not the one who has the least to lose. It is the one who knows they can handle the loss and still rise. That knowledge, that unshakable belief, is what turns ordinary people into leaders. And that is the ultimate goal. To be so certain of your own resilience that you can face anything without letting it break your peace. So, when life tests you, don't aim to look unbothered. Aim to be unbothered. And that begins with confidence. Not borrowed confidence. Not conditional confidence. But the kind that grows from the inside out, earned through effort, fortified by discipline, and anchored in self-trust. Because when you build that, nothing, absolutely nothing, can move you.